Hello, I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome once again to Affordable Housing Matters. During today's broadcast, we will highlight a local foundation dedicated to the awesome responsibility of building generational wealth through home ownership. For more than 30 years, the Neighborhood Development Foundation has been educating consumers and preparing them to successfully navigate the home buying process. Joining me now is the CEO of the Neighborhood Development Foundation, Mr. Fred Johnson, and also Mr. Ed Marshall, board member at the Neighborhood Development Foundation. Gentlemen, welcome to Affordable Housing Matters.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you. I don't know whether this is, I should say, this is post-COVID or we're still, wherever we are.
Wherever we are, we're going to take it and keep moving.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, everything is still all systems go in the Neighborhood Development Foundation, in the Neighborhood Development Foundation world?
Of course. And again, thank you for having us, Norman. Yeah, we made a few adjustments. And I think about the Bill Withers album when he's writing on the board, adjustments. We made a few adjustments very quickly. I think in 20, and my client was just reminding me, I thought it was 19, but it was 20. We had an in-person class in January, in-person class in February, and then the pandemic hit in March. We shut it down. We changed the telephone system, and via the telephone system, we picked up a webinar system, which gave us our own webinar system. So we came back, that was March, we came back in April, and we started the first virtual home buyer training class. A little more work, but we had 25 people in every class. So the whole month, the whole year of 20 was all virtual. We rolled into 21, and it's still virtual. And we intend to keep it going like that until we get some real settlement. Right. We may take it out to 22. I don't think my position as a CEO is to jeopardize my staff or myself. And I don't want to have to referee with clients about did you or did you not, will you or will you won't wear a mask, did you or did you not take a vaccine. That's not, let me create a mechanism for you to stay at home, turn on the Google Chrome, we can see you, you can see us, some different rules, mute your mic, stay in the camera, and let's get you 12 hours of home buyer training and keep you moving so that, you can pursue the things that you need with respects to building some equity for you and your family.
And Ed, it was you who 20 years ago introduced me to the Neighborhood Development Foundation. As a board member, what is your perspective and how does one define the Neighborhood Development Foundation?
I think we defined it as a part of the whole of trying to do our share of getting people who want to own homes into homes. Fred makes it very clear in some of the his speeches to them that not everybody wants to own a home, and if you don't want to own a home, you shouldn't be here. But for those who want to own a home, we go through the process of showing you from A to Z what is necessary. And it is amazing how that changes people's lives, particularly families. I was on a committee for the chamber some years ago, and everybody was talking about other different things, and I said, we need to go out and see what people are living in this city, and it's a fact. Children cannot learn if they don't have a decent place to live and feel safe, and with NDF, that has been proven. It has been proven over time and time again. They have their own room. They feel safety there. They know mom or whoever's coming home, those kind of things. So I really think we've taken our piece of the pie, and we're still trying to grow it to help make this a better place. Because for a long time, the whole country was we're kind of upside down. People, we had renters and other people had homeowners. So so we're moving.
And talking about moving, Fred, it was you who turned me on to the idea. I thought about it abstract, but I hadn't really given any concrete real reasoning to the idea of generational wealth.
Right.
And you talked about the significance of home ownership
Right.
in developing generational
Sure.
wealth.
Well, it's a very long story, and we don't have enough time. But wealth in America is passed primarily through real estate. We know we have a lot of systemic racism in a lot of systems, so a lot of systems forced us to be cut out. When I say us, African American, poor people, people of color, white poor people, because the way the system was set. So we took the position that in order to turn crime around, give people something that they feel is theirs, and give them a sense of work, and teach them about rights, responsibilities, and privileges. And it's simple, Norman. The transfer was this. You're paying a mortgage. You're just not paying it for yourself. Let us teach and train you how to pay your own mortgage. The beauty in paying your own mortgage is that every month you have one less payment, $360, $359, $358, and as you're paying it, you build an equity. Today or tomorrow, the good Lord called for you. You have something to leave to your children. The mortgage that you're paying in the form of a rent, you can't leave that to your children or your loved ones. Why? Because the title is not in your name. Right. You don't have an ownership relationship. Ed said something earlier, and what we say to folk in the training class is that home ownership is about rights, responsibilities, and privileges. And at the end of the 12 hours, you may decide that you don't want to take on rights, responsibilities, and privileges. And that is your prerogative. But go through the class, and at the end, you says, okay, I want to do this. And I want to do it. I need to do it. I understand the importance of doing it. And more importantly, I want to leave my children something. And there's a lot of various degrees of equity, but the equity that is most popular for pushing people up in the financial world is the equity that you build by paying off a mortgage.
Thank you. We're going to take a deep dive into this a little further on into the broadcast. By the way, viewers, this is a special broadcast. This is a 3-segment broadcast. The first one included board member Ed Marshall. We will say goodbye to him now. Ed, thank you for being here. But when we return, Mr. Johnson will be joined by one of his past clients, and that should be interesting. We will discuss how one can follow the same path that this client did, having a successful journey towards home ownership. So don't you go far. You know, at the Neighborhood Development Foundation, education is key to preparing individuals and families for home ownership. Joining me now, accompanied by Mr. Fred Johnson, is Mr. Kevin Chick, NDF graduate, to discuss his journey, his very special journey in purchasing a home. Welcome, Mr. Chick.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. And as you sit by Mr. Johnson, I see you smiling. Your old acquaintances.
Yeah, yeah. I was very lucky to meet this guy.
How did you meet him?
Well, I was aware that I needed to do a 12-hour first-time homebuyer course.
Yeah.
And NDF, I believe, was just the first one that was recommended me. And met Fred, and he actually led the class that I did. So he was kind of the coordinator between the different guests that would come in. And I just thought he had a super cool style.
So you've got training from the old sage.
Yes.
Yes.
The original. I could tell that he knew what he was doing. I could tell he had done it a couple times.
What was the process like for you? What tell us about your experience.
Yeah, so once I realized I wanted to do the course and try to see if homeownership was for me, I needed to have an appointment with NDF to bring my documents and papers just to see if that's even a possibility, which I really appreciated that they weren't there to waste my time, to have you come to a course and then be like, actually, this ain't going to happen, you know. So we did that process, and then it was 4 nights in a row. This was prior to it being virtual, and it was 4 3-hour classes in which they brought in basically every person you're going to deal with in the process of buying a home, which I thought was really smartly laid out, because you don't think about about buying a house, you think about, okay, maybe the real estate agent.
Sure.
But there's a lot of other people involved before you actually get those keys in your hand. And so to actually have visits from those people individually, and they tell you how it is, was really, really helpful.
So what was your biggest surprise during this process?
Whew, it was scary. It was really scary. Like when I look around and see houses and have friends that own houses and know that they've done that without this course, that to me is very frightening, because as Fred puts it, you know, a lot of these people along the way, they see big dollar signs, you know, in doing business with you to sell you a house. They're trying to get money. They're doing business. That's fine. But if you don't have the education to understand what that person's there for, what are you paying them for, you're going to get taken for a lot of money. At
what point did you decide you wanted to be a homeowner?
So it was actually prior to starting the NDF course. It was about a year prior to that. I think I was mentioning I'm a theater actor, and so I was touring around the U.S. and around the world, and kind of just got to where I was ready for a home base. And as Fred puts it very well, he says, you know, you're going to pay your own mortgage or someone else's mortgage, because those are kind of the options. Either you rent or you own. And to me, I fell in love with this city in New Orleans, and I wanted a smart option moving forward to be able to stay here and live here. And then getting to do the course then just clarified that, okay, this is something that's possible. People have done it. You have resources like Fred and NDF that if you're unsure, I can ask him. They made himself very available even after the course with questions that I had, because it's not always very clear, and everyone's case is very different as you go along the process.
How equipped was Mr. Chick, Ed, you know, in the process to go through the process of being ready to buy a house?
Well, the way we set it up, and the customers don't know this, but the way we set it up is we have a system that separates the serious people from the not so serious people. For instance, we give you a list of items verbatimly, not 100%, but what the lender's going to require. So when you come to us, that's your first test.
Okay. So you're sizing them up.
Yeah. Well, your first test is how many of your own documents you come in the door with. ID, check stub, tax return, bank statements, right? So this is how we can tell who's serious and who's not, because the more documentation you bring to us, the further and the more immediate we can move that file. The less you give us, same in the lending institution. You go there and you don't have all your documents, they're going to put that file under the other incomplete files. And one of the things we try to say to the customer base is that this is about money, not NDF money, not Fred money, not the NDF staff money, not the agent's money, not the lender's money. When you sign and the smoke clear and the dust settle, you're going to be responsible for that money. So the more you know about what you're doing, the better you can protect your money, because this is how it's going to go down. So you don't want to take the 12-hour course and go into the lender and where's your check stubs? I don't know. Where's your tax returns? Oh, I don't have them. And we don't want you going into the lender and you taking paper out the back of your pocket.
Yeah.
No, you're taking paper out the bottom of your purse. It's got baby food on it. It's got, no. We're going to get money. In order to get money, you need to know what the money people want from you. And when you go in with the clear directive of what they need, here's my ID. Everything they call, you got copies. And over the years, Norman, I've been able to establish relationships with the lenders where they can clearly tell me, hey man, we had one of your clients today. I say, how you know? Well, they told us, but we also saw how they was prepared. So the object is to, there's a lot of ill-gotten information about this thing, just horrible. So we try to demystify it. As Mr. Chick said, it's a lot. But as we say to them, we're not trying to make you a real estate tycoon, but we're trying to put you in a position where you can make a decision about getting the landlord's foot off your neck. Because as long as you're a tenant, you're going to be at the mercy of the landlord.
Right. Mr. Chick, you get the last word in this segment as we close out. Would you recommend the NDF program to others?
Certainly. I mean, as I said earlier, I really can't imagine somebody buying a house without doing this. It just seems like madness to me to not use resources like this, to just be smart about doing it. I mean, it's a lot of money, as Fred said, so you want to know what you're doing, and also just to figure out if you even want to do it once you see what it is. So I've actually recommended another friend who has since also purchased a house about 5 blocks from me. I don't even know if I told you that.
No, you didn't.
So I kind of led him down the path as Fred led me down the path. So it really is making a very real change for people. And if he feels great about it, I feel great about it.
So it's a worthwhile program.
Definitely.
In my ability, both Mr. Chick and Norman, is that I have an excellent staff. This is not an I game. This is a we game, and I'm available and prepared to do what I need to do because I have a staff. The race is won by the crew in the pit, not the driver.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us, Mr. Chick.
Thank you.
And thank you for stopping by Affordable Housing Matters. Right after this break, we will return with Mr. Johnson to, as I promised you, take a deep dive into the services that the Neighborhood Development Foundation has to offer. Welcome back as we continue our conversation with Mr. Fred Johnson, who runs the Neighborhood Development Foundation organization. And we promised you earlier in our discussion with Mr. Johnson that we would take a deep dive and look at the process that's offered at the Neighborhood Development Foundation and the curriculum that goes with it. So this is something where you're actually training people to become not only financially literate about housing, but how to actually successfully explore the housing purchasing process.
Yes. Well, the schools and churches and institutions don't teach us this, and it doesn't come by osmosis. So we were able to create this process that we could educate folk, those who want it, right? I tell the class all the time, this is not a welfare program, this is a self-help program. You have to have some skin in the game, meaning money, and you have to be willing to put in the time. And more importantly, Norman, I encourage them to ask the question they don't know. Don't be afraid to ask the question you don't know. I tell them I've been in this business 35 years. I don't know all the answers to all the questions. I don't feel less of a man by telling you that. I don't feel belittled, but here's what I'll tell you. For any question you ask me that I don't know, I'm gonna be very honest and candid with you. But I have a wealth of resource I can go to get you an answer. None of us know all the answers. Life is a learning evolution. Every day you can learn something if you open yourself up to it. But the issue we have is that our systems here educate our people so poorly until it's dangerous and damaging. So my job as an executive director / counselor, and that's the agreement I made with the board, you can keep the executive director. Let me put my hands on people. I'm a people person, right? So what I see, Norman, is I see people that, I'm going to use the analogy of a fine piece of wood that's been painted and layers of paint. And my job is to smoothly take all that old paint off and get to the fresh part of that wood and let that wood breathe. And now let me give you something to put in. We serve a lot of single family, female head of household, young women, 2 children. They get earned income tax credits. My job to sit with them and say, hey, listen, here's what I need you to do. How much you get back? Oh, I get $8,000. When you get that $8,000 back, before you consider spending it, call me. We're going to talk about how we're going to make that money grow for you.
Okay.
Right? And it's simple. You got $8,000. Let's put $5,000 in the bank. You hold 3. If we need some money, we go in the bank and borrow against your 5. By the time you blow your nose and clean it up well, 12 months then going by, you got another 8.
There you go.
You take 3 off of that 8, and you put 5, you just stacked $10,000 inside of 12 months. And it was like, wow, Mr. Fred, I ain't never thought about it. So that has been the role of counseling and educating. You have to understand the dilemma of the people that you're touching. And when you understand the dilemma of the people you're touching, then you devise methods and methodologies on how you're going to approach them.
Then that's where the curriculum comes in.
Right.
The curriculum is a 12-week course.
12 hours.
12 hours.
4 days.
Right. And what's the curriculum like?
Well, the curriculum, the first 4 hours, which is 3 hours on a Monday, 1 hour on a Tuesday, I teach rights, responsibilities, and privileges, right? Following me, they will bring in a real estate agent. Following the real estate agent, you're going to bring in a real estate inspector. Following the real estate inspector, you're going to bring in the appraisal. You're going to bring in the assessor. You're going to bring in the insurance agent. You're going to bring in the mortgage lender. So, as Mr. Chick said, we tried to bring in the classroom all of the essential people that you're going to meet going along the way. So when you engage with them, you understand what they do and you understand what it is you're supposed to do with them. And if you get turned around, we just say simply, this is a lot to retain. Just call timeout, call back to the office, and we'll help you guide through it. If you're in doubt, follow your doubt. But don't sign just to be signing and you don't understand what you're signing.
Right.
And then, there's some maneuvering, if possible, to get you out of that without it costing you.
Well, speaking of cost, how much does this cost you to go through this program?
Well, that's always been the dilemma because we've never been able to get what it costs us to service an individual from beginning to end is like $4,500. HUD won't allow us to charge it, and even if we charged it, the clients can't afford it.
Okay.
So we have to always be on the dole of raising money. So we get money from various philanthropies to make up the budget. But we charge the customer $125 for home buyer training, $100 for financial fitness. That's 2 separate courses. They're both 12 hours. We have a landlord course for those people who want to buy a double. There's a $75 fee. I can't remember because I'm not as engaged in that one. We have a update fee of $60. So the fees are very minimal, and we have other competition. So we can't jump out there with a $2,500 fee, and the competition has got a $125 fee. So we keep it sensible, but it always puts us in a position where we have to raise money. And then when you deal with the government wants you to work first and get paid after. But then when it's time to get paid, oh, there's another caveat, or there's another clause. So you're supposed to get paid in 90 days, and the 90 days turn out to be 120 days. See where I'm going?
Well, I know what it's like dealing with the bureaucracy.
You get in this bureaucracy, and it's all right if you have a substantial amount of cash flow to work from. But if you're dependent on it, and it forces you to become a very good budgeter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And RW, I call her my bean counter, Roz Washington. So she stays on top of the money all the way down to the toilet paper. You know what I mean? So you have to, because one of the important things is Norman, without a good staff, you don't have anything. And when you have a business that's constantly turning over employees, mm-hmm. Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, how you keep your people is you have to pay them.
That's
so
right.
We have to make sure that we don't get too fancy on other things, and then we can't make payroll. Got to make payroll, because without your staff, you have nothing.
So you're not just telling your clients what to do. You're showing them how to do it.
Yes,
and
sir.
you're living what you're
Yes,
talking,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for talking with us.
Oh.
We appreciate you being here, and it's always a joy to have you as a guest.
Thank you for having me.
And you're welcome.
I appreciate you recognizing and appreciating the work that NDF is doing.
No question. This is a very significant and vital program, and we'll be talking to you in the future.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. And once again, we would like to thank all of our guests for joining us here on our program today. And please remember, if you would like to rewatch this or any other past episodes of our program, please visit WLAE.com and click on the programming link. There you can watch all of our past episodes at your leisure. And again, I'm Norman Robinson, and we'll see you next time on Affordable Housing Matters.